one of the Oscar-winning movies, were actually dubbed using LLMs.
Agencies struggle because clients don't write good briefs.
The whole paradigm of Google search in itself is changing.
So shifting the mindset from SEO to GEO, which is Generative Engine Optimization, I think is the way forward.
Recently, we published some of the case studies for several of the organizations where at least they started seeing improvements. One of the client media publication happened a few weeks back. They saw almost around thousands of AI overviews, ChatGPT results, etc., which helped them kind of gain leads from that. One of the other startup brand also is seeing improvements in terms of leads because leads are coming from ChatGPT, but the algorithms are changing every day. That's where the current challenge lies, and that's where at least we are on the journey with all of you in this particular space. So we can start with Suchi's problem statement, or at least the statement that, hey, adaptation of AI by users, that's increasing. And how do we kind of move into this particular thing? With so many users getting scattered, how do we kind of, what should a marketer do? Any thoughts on that? At least what should be the action item for a marketer? It's not only about search, everything around AI, but yes, the users are getting scattered. That's the primary challenge.
Like how you're mentioning and what Kaushal and Kiran were touching upon is brand discoverability across LLMs. Because so many people now, because AI overviews becomes the first one to appear on Google search, I think the whole paradigm of Google search in itself is changing. So it would be very interesting to understand how that whole thing is going to, what are people searching for, how is it appearing in AI overviews, why is it only picking up one brand and not the other, and because the cohorts, all of this is being done for all brands, but why is one getting preference?
So, there's some science behind it. Right, so historically, I think all of us around this table still will probably swear by metadata and keywords and indexing and so on. And I think the journey started by us moving away from focusing on the website, expanding our digital footprints with the hope that AI will pick us up and stuff will happen and so on and so forth, right? But what I've realized over a period of time is there is something called as a AI parsing, right? And there's a particular schema and a structure that needs to be done for that. So as long as content is built on those lines and it is deployed and delivered on those lines where it's easy to pick up the injections that, and you're the expert in this space, so you'll probably know what I'm talking about. So shifting the mindset from SEO to GEO, which is Generative Engine Optimization, I think is the way forward. And it takes and in my own experience, it takes a lot of heavy lifting to do that. It took us at least 6 to 8 months of work. Now that, and in some cases, even now, we are getting topic authority. We are actually getting recommended by LLMs along with OEMs. And I'm talking about enterprise B2B space, right? Very different from practically what all of us are doing around this table, right? So we are getting recommended by OEMs, by LLMs next to OEMs as a service provider of choice, right? So bit by bit, but to answer your question, it is more about diversifying footprints, bringing the GEO strategies into play, continuing to index on Google because we can't escape that. But at the same time, bringing in the AI parsing methodologies into place and striving for topical authority. So my suggestion would be to pick one area and push it to the max and then move on to the next while maintaining what you've built in that space.
Especially that could be possibly a good approach.
It's worked for us. So you may want to just consider contextualizing it to your business. But that is what I would say.
I see two things happening broadly. So one, I think as everybody kind of echoed here, is that after a very long time, I mean, normally for all, in-market audiences, and there are certain products like paint, like insurance, which has a certain time where people are looking to buy, right? It's not an impulse purchase, it's people planning to paint, people planning to buy insurance. The best source was Google, right? Because it was a Google search and you had an in-market audience. Right? People discovered your brand and everything else on, Meta and other places, but that's basically where they went when they were actually planning to do something, at least digitally. So now, with that is likely to get fragmented, right? And it's, there are many forces. One is obviously, this India ChatGPT now at 399 rupees, whatever, GPT Go. Then this whole thing about Google having to kind of sell Chrome for whatever reasons, right? So all of that is definitely going to happen in some way. The second thing that I think has happened is that, initially doing research required you to read 5 pages, maybe take some notes or at least save a few web pages, right? Say a product comparison in a product category like auto, like insurance, etc. now becomes almost easy. This versus this versus this. And most marketers, especially in the brand side, were very focused only on the top of the funnel, generate interest. It's a complex category. First, just educate the audience. There was not enough well-written content on mid-funnel. Product differentiators, comparisons. I mean, some industries don't allow you to compare with competitors, but you still need to kind of go ahead and detail out your features and benefits in a way which does not get audiences get their eyes rolled over. I mean, they find it relevant and interesting to read, right? So I think having a lot of that kind of content where the brand marketer's job is not really top of the funnel brand creation, but a lot of learning of mid-funnel pieces, right? What is your specific features? What are your USPs? What are the things that make you stand out? What are the specific benefits? How is it relevant to a specific target audience? I think a lot of that content will start coming and has to start coming quickly enough, because compiling that becomes very easy for somebody.
To marketing, what I'm hearing the group say is that upskilling and reskilling as applicable is the way to go. Is that a fair consensus?
No reduction, yeah. That's something which
if you have to
I'm also
save
getting
jobs,
that message.
then you either upskill or you reskill. Right?
Yeah.
That's the way you
Because
protect.
even you write simple prompts in ChatGPT, so it will give you a different answer depending on how I ask the question. So, writing of prompts is also something that is quite important. So you need to know how to question, because
Microsoft runs an entire department on prompt engineering.
Absolutely.
It's a global department, and I've been speaking to some of those people. They've created a complete science out of it. In terms of the industry, the level of the complexity, the expected output, the complete science out of it. So yeah,
It's fantastic. So
Udemy has 20 plus courses.
20 plus courses, yeah, on prompt
engineering.
Yeah. My observation to your point about writing English is that the people who are the most unburdened with the stress of writing prompts are the ones who do the best job of it. So we ran, like all of us do, we ran some courses for the larger marketing team, training them on Gen AI in particular and AI in general and so on. And obviously at the end of it, one of the exercises was to write a prompt for a particular case study to get the most opportune answer. Just guess, who would have written the best prompt?
The Gen Zs.
Oh, Gen Z is a given. Those fellows were born into it, they're natives. We are the imposters, right? But, sorry, I'm assuming all of you are millennials, right? So just guess, who would have written the best prompt?
yes, I get it.
The designer. A guy who has difficulty stringing together enough words to form a fluent sentence in this language we are speaking in, he was the person who wrote the best prompt. And when asked why and how he did that, he basically said, मैंने अपने दिमाग में सोचा, उसका English word सोचा और उसको लिख दिया और वो काम हो गया. So because he was so unburdened.
No, it also could be that the AI, the way it is, it's trying to address the lowest common denominator.
Possible. Very much
Could
possible.
be that.
Very much possible.
Because the higher level will write sophisticated,
Very much possible.
ensure that, yeah.
Very much possible.
See, I think
Personally, I feel prompt engineering is no different than writing a brief.
True.
As marketeers, and I have been on both sides of the table, on the agency side as well as on the brand side, agencies struggle because clients don't write good briefs.
True.
And why does a client not write good briefs? Because they are not clear in their heads as to what they want. Now juxtapose that into a prompt engineering scenario. If I don't know what I want, if I don't have the subject matter expertise to create some base content and upload it on a ChatGPT LLM with the right prompt for it to analyze, polish, embellish, whatever you want to do it, the answer we'll get is what AI thinks the answer is, which will never be close to the truth unless we hit a bullseye, tukka lag gaya types thing. So nothing has changed. It's only the delivery device. Earlier the brief used to go in the form of a memo or a note or an email. Now they're going in the form of prompt. So if you're not good then, we'll continue to be not good now.
Really well said. Okay, let's move to the next one, the IP challenge. With AI coming in, definitely whatever is core to the organization is getting onto the AI ecosystem. And as marketers, again, we have that responsibility. While most of our data is public, but as custodians of the face of the organization, it's our responsibility that our organization doesn't get hurt because of this per thing. So how do we solve the AI related IP challenge that content which is getting uploaded can become information and data for some other organization or maybe your competitor? How do we handle that challenge?
What I have seen in my experiences till date, the best way to safeguard against IP violations or even plagiarism for that matter, and amongst other challenges, is to use enterprise version of the LLMs. Simply because if you're using an enterprise version, you get an option to have your data not shared with the wider audiences, right? Now that comes with a drawback. An LLM is as good as the model data sets it trains on. If your data set gets added to that, obviously you also benefit out of it, right? It's a trade. But if you don't want that, then the responses that you will get back will be nominally better than what you have put in, right? So that brings me back to the earlier point I was making. If the marketeer is clear about what they want, if their base content is good enough to be built upon and embellished further, then even that nominal delta is something which can give you a different perspective to think about, right? The other thing is that I think we were discussing offline, all of us were discussing offline, and I think Shushi, you made this point, right? AI is good at creating mood boards, but converting that mood board into an actual product, be it an ad film or it's a digital film or whatever you call it, is the job of a creative individual. What AI will do is it will help you reduce the cycle, wherein earlier a mood board used to take a month. It will now probably give you 7-8 versions in a week's time. But again, if you're clear on what you want, then you can choose which one works better, optimize further, brief it, make it sharper, and then get into execution and production. So, coming back to your question, on the technical side of things, enterprise versions work. On the non-technical creative side of things, I think it's using AI as a tool rather than an end product. It's again a function of the prompt. The tool is intelligent, but to point the tool in the right direction for it to do its job, it's the prompt's role. So boils back to the same thought. If you are clear, if I am clear on what we want, what's the emotion we want out of the campaign, which is the particular customer point that buying signal that we are trying to address. What is it that will help us, him or her, choose a metro shoe over, let's say, some other shoe, and so on and so forth. What are those triggers? As long as we are clear about that and point the tool, the product that will come out in the form of a creative will help us do that. I think to the point that you made, right? Insurance buying is largely seasonal. Right? Either it is tax saving or it is something. So that OND quarter, October, November, December quarter, I think is a big one for you, and so is JFM, right? So during that time, what are the trends, what are the signals, what is triggering consumer thought processes and behavior? If that can be baked into a prompt and your products, the creative output is resonant to that, I think you'll have a huge advantage as compared to competition. It's about who gets there first.
I think when it comes to IP, I'm kind of the odd one out because all of you are end user brands, but our company is the service provider. So for example, when we do research, we do consulting. IP becomes very important for us because one, we take a lot of information from the client. So that data protection is important. So for us, the guideline is don't upload anything. Okay, just be safe, don't upload anything. And second thing is when it comes to research, advisory, consulting, our clients pay us for our unique perspectives. So there it has to be our perspective, it has to be an original content. So we can't create even for fun, even for sake of traffic. We just cannot create a blog which is AI generated.
Right.
For us, that will shatter our reputation, and reputation is actually all we have. So that is why the kind of a guideline is that think of AI when you are using Copilot or no, think of it just as a means and not about creating an end product. Just as a means where you are getting some guidelines, some signposts, a general collation of data. So LLMs are great with curation at least, and stick to that. Unlike in, of course, Google search, you also had to just then click on every link, copy it somewhere, analyze and then do it. Of course, LLMs make that job easier for you, and we want to stick to that. These are the two guiding principles for us.
I look at it from two parts. I mean, there is one part which is basically this worry about your IP going out. So I think that worry has always been there. I mean, when initially used to post things online, it was there. When cloud computing came, it was there, as in is my customers' data going on, cloud outside the country, and then you had all PII information should be within India, and so on and so forth. So I think that is basically something that organizations and their infosec teams, etc., have dealt with. They know how to do it. Some will move a little faster, some will move a little slower. Eventually, everybody will move to some way of where they feel safe, and they will kind of, just like everything started moving to the cloud, this will also start happening. You'll start having, safe playgrounds and safe sandboxes where data has been, uploaded into various LLMs. I think the second part, which is where, how do you kind of say that, okay, if you've used LLMs to create something, how do you kind of justify that, right? I think there is a whole bunch of things which will be going to be different. Companies like Adobe, etc., are now going to say that, okay, we'll ensure that this creative will not get replicated anywhere else. There is provenance and everything else. The recent, one of the film festivals, they had this whole thing about, a lot of the dialogues in The Brutalist, one of the Oscar-winning movies, were actually dubbed using LLMs because the actors could not speak in Hungarian, could not speak in those languages. And this caused a furor when they realized that you'd not been transparent about it. Because both the actor and the actress had been nominated for, the best actor, best actress in that particular thing. So I think this whole thing about marketers being transparent about, okay, we've used AI to generate this ad. Today, I don't think anybody says this except for maybe when you put it up for awards or something like that in, those hallowed things. But for example, consumers know, right? And I think that piece will be big. The third thing is from a service provider perspective, and especially if you are known for, your product is basically an intellectual product. I mean, today there are enough number of things where people upload Big Five reports, they upload equity research reports of various named companies into tools which says how much of this is written by AI. And then it looks really bad if this is, okay, 80% of this is written by AI.
No, but there is a broking company, a recent one, I heard their ad on radio, they claim to famous that they are an AI driven, and they say because of AI we take only the latest reports. So they claim that theirs is not original. They are just turning it.
Transparency is very important.
Yeah.